Thank you so much for joining us. Really happy to have you here today. Please allow me to introduce myself and my team. So my name is Shiaoling. I'm actually one of the directors at Shichida Australia. Thank you for joining me tonight. And together on my team, there's also Hanako that you see on the screen here. So Hanako is actually our head of operations. So looking after all the Shichida centers here in Australia. And at the same time too, we have Angie and Rena online too, helping with all the logistics and all the questions too. So thank you very much for those who are giving us thumbs up and love hearts and all that. We love interaction in our presentation. So, okay, now let's get started. Firstly, the topic that we're going through today, what kinder and school never teach, but every child needs to succeed. So just want to make sure that everyone is at the right place. And first thing first, with regards to this topic, it is really not about pushing academic early. It's wanting, I guess, our families here, and of course, there might be some prospective families here too, know that we're just wanting to make sure that children don't miss that once in a lifetime window where learning can be so natural and joyful. Because what matters is ultimately that we will use these early years wisely. At Shichida, our goal is not really to rush through childhood. It is actually to make sure that it is richer, to help children grow their hearts that's going to be kind and their minds that's going to love to learn. And more importantly, to going forward, that we're able to future proof them. So the big question, isn't kinder enough? Well, maybe it is, maybe not. I'm sure all of us parents, we want the best start for our kids. We all want the same thing, happy, confident kids, love learning. And a lot of us actually assume that kinder will give children everything that they need before they go to school. And to some extent, of course, kindergarten does a wonderful job nurturing social skills and play. But over the years, something tell us that it is not quite enough anymore. And I just realized I had a little disclaimer there. I think between New South Wales and Victoria, we actually use different terminologies. Basically, I think you're in the 3 or 4 year old in Victoria, we call it kinder, but in New South Wales, I believe we call it preschool. And likewise, when we go to the big school, I think in New South Wales you call it kinder, but we call it prep here in Victoria. But so please excuse me if I just use the words interchangeably, but basically it refers to our, yeah, 3, 4, 5 onwards years old, those going to big school, those going to preschool and kinder. Okay, so this evening, I just want to show everyone like what really matters in children's development and what actually build a child who's going to thrive and what Shichida does that most programs may not look out for or cater for. So the next slide, please, Rena. Thank you. Now, why parents might think kinder preschool is enough? Well, of course, there's the element of building the social confidence, the routine, the friendship, the play, giving them that gentle start to independence. And of course, sometimes we have that thinking, well, once they start school and all that, they're going to learn everything. And of course, let kids be kids. That's very often what, we hear of. Well, the thing is this. Data has shown in the last couple of years, so Australia has invested heavily in early learning, but yet the data is not showing that we're benefiting from that investment that has gone in. The academic performance, if anything, has actually slipped internationally. So we know over time that kinder alone does not guarantee that strong start that all of us are hoping for as parents. So I'm not going to read through all these points here, but basically the question isn't about just having more time in early learning or in childcare and all that. It's actually about the quality and the type of stimulation that we get or we provide for the children these during the critical early years. Then the other question is, what about the future? So around the world today, a lot of education leaders are always asking, what kind of skills will our children need in the future? There's actually this report by OECD, and it started in 2019. And it was actually looking at the skills and values and attitude needed for children to thrive in 2030. Well, fast forward, we're not that far from 2030, and I still see a lot of gaps that they have listed over here. So you're seeing here that, schools are just facing that increasing demand to prepare children for the just how rapidly the world is changing, the jobs that haven't been created yet, the technology that hasn't even been invented yet, the social problems that haven't been anticipated. So what knowledge, skills, and attitudes do our kids need today? And this is what we want to kind of look into. And you will see that basically the OECD will say that children need creativity, empathy, responsibility, as much as numeracy and literacy. So for us at Shichida, we basically start these foundation early. And what is important to note is that our classes is not just teaching them facts and knowledge and all that. It's actually training the brain. It is a brain training program. We're training the brain and the heart to be curious, to be confident, and for the children to be compassionate learners too. So that's why what we cover over here is far beyond what is being covered in kinder. And we're building that architecture for lifelong learning in order to foolproof the children going ahead. So these are the skills that we're going to need. We're beginning to see a little bit of that today, even in the workforce. Technical knowledge and all that is no longer enough. It's a lot more of the other soft skills, and looking into this world now where it's just changing so quickly. You can see the kind of activity or the kind of skills that's actually going to be really important for the children going forward in their world. Curiosity, the lifelong learning mindset, all that social emotional skills to thrive in the future, empathy, cooperation, communication, perseverance, adaptability, etc. And even in the cognitive skills space, you will see that the ability to learn how to learn, it's so important because of the point that I said earlier on. We don't know what the future is going to look like. They're going to be in jobs that don't even exist. There's going to be technology that hasn't even been invented yet. So some of the attitudes and values that children's going to need, and again, this is 2030, we're not that far away. You can see how currently in today's world, how some of these values are actually very important. Sorry, this is a little bit tiny over here, but this is just a quick mapping of some of the domains that have been listed in there and what it means in the different areas and how do we actually build it at Shichida. So in the third column, it lists some of the activities that we do in classes and what it is actually striving to encourage. So you can see from this list here, skills like curiosity, motivation, and self-awareness are emerging as key because what we know today might just be obsolete tomorrow. So it is so important for us that we're not just teaching children the contents, but more importantly, how they learn and how they adapt and even how they ask questions. So over here, it's not just another activity that does numeracy and literacy. Over here, we do brain training, brain development, and it is the kind of purposeful stimulation that we are providing or working on the children. We're taking advantage of that window of opportunity where they're still growing, where building the brain architecture is still very possible. So we're gearing the children up for a future where adaptability and this learning agility is so critical. And the other thing too is that at the end of the day, because the world is changing at so fast a speed, um, for the children to be able to, I guess, think creatively, and being comfortable with change, even, and just being emotionally aware. This is something that is very important for them, especially with that ongoing lifelong learning mindset, that love of learning, just because that's going to be what their world is going to be. Every day it's going to be a new experience and it's learning new things. Now, I just wanted to also highlight on one thing, as you will see, and you may have noticed that memory is actually a big component at Shichida. And we just want to kind of highlight that the kind of things that we are teaching the kids here, it's not about remembering certain facts or remembering certain details, etc. It's actually we're actually meant to kind of like doing a mental wiring that makes learning easy. So every time when your child is recalling something or linking information in class, they're basically strengthening their neural pathway, that's going to make a lot of the skill sets that we're hoping to see in the future in the education sector possible right now. So it's basically teaching them how to learn. So then you might be thinking, so how does Shichida complement with kindergarten? And actually, it is that smart middle. So kinder builds social confidence, but it wasn't really designed to sort of develop that, deep cognitive stimulation, memory, or critical thinking, nor that brain mechanism to train that brain mechanism to make learning easy. And that future readiness is actually more than just school. Whether we should let kids be kids, we certainly agree with that. But it shouldn't mean, it should mean joyful learning, but not at the expense of missed opportunity. So, what we are doing here, what your kids are going through here, is actually working on this foundation. We are working on this invisible layer that learning is going to be just so much more natural and joyful for them. So the smart middle is what we're talking about here at Chichita. Now, for the next session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Hanako, who's going to be kind of walking through with everyone as far as the contents of what we do at Shichida across kindergarten, basically from 3 year olds, 3 years old and up, um, comparing what is done at kinder, done at school, and also even I think there's even some comparison with IQ tests type of questions. So I'll just hand it over to Hanako now. Thanks, Han.
Thanks, Shiaoling. And I'll go at a fast trot because I know, it's an evening and you guys have kids as well. So let's get into the nitty gritty here and do our comparisons of what the government curriculum does in kinder foundation prep and what we do at Shichida. So first of all, let's take a look at this memory slide over here. So memory training is actually one of the best ways that you can support your child to thrive. So good memory training sets up your child for success later in life, not just academically, but professionally and personally. And you can see here that in schools, there's not really any focus on memory. At Shichida, we do an amazing range of memory activities. So better memory can help to reduce exam anxiety as children progress through school and ensure they can remember important information more easily and in stressful situations as well. So working memory, which we also focus on in Shichida, is now actually said to be a better indicator for future success of children than IQ. So as Shiaoling said, it's not just a party trick. It's cool that our kids can remember, let's say, up to 500 decimals of pi. That's amazing. But it's more the fact that they have the ability to remember these things. And we give these kids at Shichida an amazing amount of abilities and to be able to remember things. So our kids also develop speed reading. They develop photographic eidetic memory skills. We teach them, you might have heard of memory palace, which is sort of what our PEG memory is. So our Shichida kids have the ability to remember things, and this is integral to future learning. And as you can see, it's, you know, pretty much zilch in the government curriculums here. Okay, so critical thinking, and you can see, yes, there's some critical thinking done, thank goodness, in the government curriculums here. So it's important for the kids because it helps them with problem solving, better decision making, as well as academic success. And it fosters independence by encouraging kids to question, analyse information, and think for themselves rather than simply accepting what they are told. So critical thinking encourages, creativity, innovation, problem solving, decision-making abilities, improves logical reasoning, boosts self-confidence and self-esteem, which is so important for our kids these days, and enables better understanding and communication with others. And, Shichida is one of the very rare and unique places where we do focus on critical thinking as well as memory, teaching kids how to think for themselves, giving them the tools to learn rather than the standard traditional tutoring rote learning methods. That is not what we are about. So you can see that actually you can see that the 1-2-year-olds at Shichida are doing the same things as some of our government curriculum in kinder. We keep on going. We do, our Shichida kids are very advanced actually in what they're doing. They're using their deductive reasoning to think of answers for discovery questions. They can, do patterns. We'll look into that later and how that also helps with NAPLAN and IQ tests. And by the way, these, I'm skimming through these because you'll be getting these if you haven't already in an email, in a handout. So don't worry too much about this. But as you can see, not a lot of time is focused on critical thinking, but Shichida does teach our kids to be confident, critical thinkers. So critical thinkers are more likely to be confident kids, and it helps with all aspects of life, not just education. As you can see, not too much focus is given on honing into critical thinking skills at school. So Shichida is one of the unique places where we do encourage kids to think for themselves, to figure stuff out. Okay, moving on, let's go to literacy. So we can see that school's catching up. Yes, literacy is important. So despite maybe memory, critical thinking not being as important in the government curriculums, literacy is covered. So look, they're learning they can sing the alphabet song. They're recognising letters of the alphabet in the government curriculum. Now, if you've been with us at Shichida, you know that they're already doing that age in our 1-2-year-old curriculum. A lot of what is covered in the government curriculum is actually covered in our 1- and 2-year-old curriculum. You can see the reality is actually quite harsh because schools expect to receive kids into the school environment being illiterate, essentially, and expecting to teach the kids everything from ABC. So our Shichida kids who start school literate just have a huge advantage over their counterparts. And unfortunately, it's one of those situations as well that it is, once you're behind, it is hard to catch up. And once you're ahead, you want to stay ahead. And that's where Shichida comes in, because we help these kids stay ahead. So while the other kids are learning their ABCs, our Shichida kids are meanwhile working on their creative writing skills through our Da Vinci mind maps. They're able to read. They do comprehension questions. This is, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds in our Shichida program. In the primary program, they're actually doing research projects, learning about people who change the world and presenting their research to the class, as well as even debating. And you can see we even teach our kids self-editing skills, so they work on their own composition. So working on creative writing, not just writing and learning their ABCs at this age. All right, let's move on to numeracy. So the great news is when kids start school, they're taught how to count to 20 in kinder in New South Wales. This is something that we've been working on since 0 years old in the Shichida curriculum. We're constantly inputting the numbers. 3-4-year-olds, some of our 2-year-olds can already count up to 20 to 50. So numbers is a particularly difficult concept to pick up after the age of 5, especially, and really, when you look at the next slide, you can see that our Shichida kids are already doing things like simple money addition. They know how to count by, 2s, 5s, and 10s, even at 3, 3-year-old curriculum. They're confident doing additions. They're starting to learn multiplications. They're doing double-digit multiplications in the primary program with us. They're doing number stories and things like this, which I'll show a bit later as well. Okay, so just to let you know, I know I did skim through a lot of this, but as I mentioned, you will get this content in an email if you haven't already. Let's move on to our next slide. I just want to show you guys how Shichida accidentally, because this is not intentional, accidentally prepares kids for NAPLAN and IQ tests. Now, I want to reiterate, as Shiaoling said, Shichida is not about just academics, high IQs, and preparing for tests. This is about preparing our kids for life, to be successful in life, as well as their education as well. So let's have a look at this next slide here. Grade 3 plus 5 NAPLAN tests versus our 3-year-old Shichida program. Does it look similar over here? The left, we've got the grade 3 and 5 NAPLAN, and to the right, we've got our 3-year-old Shichida critical thinking fun games. So Shichida's emphasis on visualization, memory exercises, and logic games prepares the children to tackle multi-step problems, which do appear in NAPLAN's higher order questions. So some critical thinking activities include size ordering, combining shapes to make a new shape, and shape discrimination. And, these are found in NAPLAN, but Shichida goes actually above and beyond the critical thinking activities found in those tests. Okay, so once again, Year 3 NAPLAN versus our 5 and 6-year-old Shichida. As I mentioned, in our numeracy, we're already working on story problems. Okay, so Year 3 and 5 NAPLAN tests will focus on number sentences where children need to read the story and gather the information needed to make the equation and then solve it. And Shichida focuses on number stories from our 5-year-old pre-primary program using addition and subtraction. When they're 6, it becomes a bit more challenging. And this is just such an important numeracy skill, as it teaches comprehension rather than just rote learning equations. And there's lots of programs that will teach numeracy, but they're rote learning. Shichida is teaching these kids to be critical thinkers, to think for themselves. This is fun. Year 7 NAPLAN versus our primary Year 3 at Shichida. So our primary school program at Shichida ranges from 7 to 9-year-olds. They're 90-minute programs, actually, and they explore more complicated mathematical concepts, such as bar graphs and Venn diagrams, which can be found in the Year 7 NAPLAN test. So our 7-year-olds are doing what the Year 7 NAPLAN kids are doing. So that's pretty amazing. And our Shichida kids are amazing when you see them figure out some of their, these problems in the primary program. I'm always blown away. Okay, all right, thank you. So once again, just a comparison here, Year 3 NAPLAN versus 5-year-old Shichida kids. So you can see on the left the Boots the Cat NAPLAN, and on the right we've got our story memorization for Shichida. So, but this is where the memory skills actually come in handy as well for our Shichida kids. It really helps them, these NAPLAN tests. So NAPLAN tests for Years 3 and 5 have reading comprehension activities where they read a short story and when they need to answer questions about it. So this is something that we do with our 5 and 6-year-olds in the pre-primary program. And this activity that you see there on the right is called story memorization, where wherever kids listen to the story being read to them twice and then answer questions. So they listen twice and then answer the questions. And we also develop this skill using simple books that kids read along to, and then they answer a variety of questions that need both literal and inferred answers. So our IQ test versus Shichida. So one of our most popular activities is the fun critical thinking games, which you did see earlier. And these become progressively more difficult as the children get older. And by happy coincidence, you can see that a lot of these activities are similar to the ones found in the WPPSI IQ test. That's the IQ test for preschool and primary age. Yeah, and have a good look there. You know, if you can figure this out, you're doing well. You're doing well. Okay. All right. Thank you, Shiaoling. I'll pass back to you, but that's just a taste of what we do.
Yep.
And oh yes, we're going back to yep. Thank you. Yes. So this is what the fun critical thinking games that I was showing earlier. This is what we actually do in our from kinder, actually from 3-year-old age. They're doing these sorts of fun critical thinking games that come up similar to the IQ test, and it's just by chance that this happens. But our Shichida kids, we are teaching them to think for themselves, and I've shown you a range of things that they learn, but one of the things I did skim over didn't mention was speed reading is one of the skills that we also teach our kids. The ability not to skim read. A lot of adults, you might think speed reading is skim reading. That's different. That's when we glance at something and pick up, okay, the basic phrases like we do when we look at newspaper headlines. But our Shichida kids have the ability to speed read, and this is something that we develop into the primary program at Shichida, which does make learning a lot easier for them. So our Shichida kids are able to read very quickly passages and then able to absorb and understand, comprehend everything they have read. So not a skim read, a speed read. So this is also something that helps for their future ongoing learning and makes school a lot easier for them. And this is something as well that, you know, schools will teach the kids to read, but they don't teach the skills such as speed reading like we do as well. Okay, all right, thank you. That's just a taste of what we do and how it compares to NAPLAN, IQ, and as well as school. Shiaoling, I'm going to hand back to you.
Yep. Thanks, Hanako. All right. Now, so hope that gave everyone like an idea or a flavor of some of the things that we cover, or the gaps that we fill between school, kindergarten, and what Shichida is. Now, before we go into any questions and answers, I just have a little short video here that I wanted to share with everybody. So these are real families who have walked the same journey as yourselves. Parents often first start Shichida journey, and it's about, you know, giving the children that great start. And there were many who thought that, yep, you know, once we go to big school, once we go to kinder, preschool, thank you all, we had fun, you know. But when they saw what we sort of just gone through, that's where many of the parents actually think twice. And in fact, we have had parents where they, you know, in term 4, they go, see you later, thank you so much. And then by term 1, they're, can we come back? Because kinder wasn't what we expected, and all that. So we want to kind of show, I guess, share with you their thoughts as the weeks and the months and the years go, what many of these parents begin to see something deeper in the children going through the Shichida program all the way through, where there's that curiosity, that confidence, the empathy, that focus. It's all beginning to take root. So this video is going to capture some of the journey through the eyes of the parents and grandparents and people who see the difference every day. So, yep, a gentle reminder that it's not about what the children can do, it's about who they are becoming. So let's have a quick look at this video.
Of course, we knew our ABCs and 1, 2, 3s before we knew how to walk.
We first heard about Shichida when I was expecting. We heard from my colleague. So my colleague's friend just enrolled their kids in because they heard from their friend what the kids can do. Their kids can remember all the national flags and have really good memory, has a great vocabulary, and we're just really amazed at the results.
What is the capital city of Turkey?
Ankara,
Very good. Finland,
Helsinki,
Malaysia,
Kuala Lumpur.
We've seen the results really, pay off in his schooling. He's able to, grasp concepts very easily and really excel in his work.
Yep, amazing memories. I can see that he's, reciting the pi.
100 decimal places of pi. Are ready? Go. 3 4 4 4 5 9 6 6 5 3 5 8 9 79. 1 7 0 6 7 9. That's the end.
I think it's a really great program that expands children's minds to think about the wider world around them. And I also think it can add something that's not in the curriculum at school, like lots of science experiments. When the kids are in Kinder Year 1 and Year 2 at school, they don't do any science experiments, and so I think it fosters a love for science if they come here and do them here.
Together at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
What is happening?
It's basically teaching you how to learn, or teaching the kids how to fish. So rather than giving them the answers, it's equipping them with the tools so that they can find a love of learning, to, engage their curiosity, to engage their critical thinking, and hopefully find a way to make their mark in the world.
Sun, Mercury, Venus.
They're very confident. You could see that, they seem to know more. They are more advanced, in other words, Not because they are my grandkids, I feel, oh, they're better than any other kids, but you can compare the difference. Those like them, they have the help, the assistance from Shichida.
Yeah.
They're very different. They're so confident, and I think they benefited from it.
Today, I'll be sharing with you 3 artworks that the famous Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci created.
And I think what Shichida's point of difference is that it not only enriches them with academic pursuits, but also with the social and emotional side of things. And that has been really impressive, creating a whole human that is socially and emotionally aware and conscious of their place in a society.
My words that polish my heart is number 15. You may think luck is against you, but it can turn your way at any time. Luck comes in disguise. I chose this word to polish my heart because luck is really important for me, and luck isn't always lucky. Sometimes luck is hard work. Something might seem bad luck, but later it can turn into better luck than you have expected. This is why I chose this word to polish my heart. Thank you for listening.
As a teacher, I'm actually primary trained. I've come across many students who have immense gaps in their learning. It's really sad to see a lot of children actually struggling with the foundations. And for me, as a teacher as well as a mother, I wanted to give the best head start to my children, and I really value early education. So all I wanted to do was give them the very best, and I know a program like Shichida is very well doing that.
Thank you. And as a summary, before we go to the questions, so basically we want parents to know that what we're building here is not just knowledge, it is wiring for lifelong learning. The world today, as I said earlier on, this rapid growth of digital information is just contributing to all that information overload. And individuals, children in the very near future, they definitely need to develop stronger skills to filter, to interpret, and to apply the information effectively. Because the world that they are going to be living in is just going to be flooded with data and information, and the scale and the speed of it is going to be much faster and higher than our generation. So definitely being able to manage and making sense of the information becomes a very critical foundational skill. So it's really no longer enough to just know how to read, write, do maths. All that is foundational, but the bundle of skills that's going to matter, that's going to help them thrive, are things like adaptability, resilience, empathy, creativity, critical thinking, and the ability to collaborate in just constant changing contexts. So as we say here, Kinder School will teach you what to learn, but Shichida is teaching the children how to learn with joy and confidence. So the journey doesn't end here, but it actually will grow with the children. So at this point, this wraps up our presentation.